Reminder, before we kick off today's video, the live stream update with 3RL is tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time, approximately 12 hours after the drop of this video. I will be live streaming it. We'll be here, so come on by, hit us up. We'll be seeing the first look at the new Fantastic Four uniforms, the new Fantastic Four characters, presumably, and any other surprises they have for us, Doctor Doom, Spider-Man, whatever the case may be. You do not want to miss that. I think it's going to be really, really good. I actually have high hopes for this update. Usually the updates after an anniversary are not too great, but I'm feeling kind of hype. I'm feeling kind of excited. I hope they do well by the Fantastic Four because they haven't been very good traditionally. And sort of historically, they haven't been very meta, even though they only came out about 5 years ago and they've had uniforms since then. So with that out of the way, with that announcement done, now we kick off this video topic. Now this one is... It sounds a bit whaley at first, okay? Because I wanted to tell you guys, hey, I have a new plan for what I'm doing with my swords after I maxed them out. So you're probably looking at this and you're saying, oh my god, Alex, I'm never going to have my swords maxed out. This is a pipe dream for me, blah, blah, blah. I don't do the bingo. You know, this is whatever. I'm tuning out. Hear me out here. Hear me out here. You don't have to max out your swords. Once you get them to a place where, you know, whatever, 34, 33, 35... You're happy with them. You're like, you know what, this is as good as it's going to get. The next step from there, if you want, obviously, that does involve investing some crystals and investing some boost swords, is to re-roll them. You can re-roll them like you re-roll P cards, where you can lock certain abilities that you've rolled with certain stats once you roll them, and you can pay crystals to lock them, or you can roll everything for free, basically for free. In order to do that, though, you need to build up a surplus of swords like this, and you need to build up a surplus of runes like this. So that's what I wanted to show you guys, because this is what I've actually been doing, and I actually saved up a bunch to show you guys so we can do like a whole bulk thing, because it's kind of crazy at this point. Like, obviously, I don't need any more swords, so you're probably thinking to yourself, is everything just wasted now, right? All of the stuff you farm from Otherworld Battle that isn't the tokens that you exchange for tier 4 materials, that you exchange for CTPs, is everything else, all the swords, all the runes, that's just junk, Alex? It's not junk. I actually happened to craft by accident, pure luck. I crafted a perfect sword. I'm just keeping it in case, who knows, they introduce some crazy thing to swords, you know, next year, 5 years down the road, and they make you use other perfect swords, sort of like P cards, right, to like smash them together. Anywho, here's what you do: you save up, you know, you want to save up a certain amount. It's 63 Rune of the Unknown to make one sword. So if you want to bulk enchant 10 swords, it's going to cost you 630 runes of the unknown. So I actually have enough to do 50. So we're just going to do 50. Actually, I almost have enough for 60, but I'll show you guys 50. You can do the math yourselves. It costs a little bit of gold for sure. So it's 500k for this first one, and then it goes up from there. So it's probably, well, actually, we'll take a look here. But I'm not disenchanting anything. I'm not, you know, I don't care what I get, because this is what you're going to do. This is the way you're going to do it. Once you have sort of, you know, figured out your swords, basically, your swords are at a point where you're not really going to exchange them anymore. You're not going to, you know, equip a new one. You're not going to try to perfect one, right? Because you either have them all perfect or you have them as close to perfect as possible. So I believe it's 500,000, 1 million, 1.5 million, 2 million thus far, and then 2.5, and then 3. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think it's like 10.5 million gold to do 50 of these. I believe so. Okay, so there we go. I had enough to do 50. So you're gonna see the rainbow here. You're gonna see a lot of Skittles. None of these swords are good. I didn't follow any of the advice that I give you guys in other videos, as far as, you know, once you enchant 50 at one rune, disenchant all of the ones that you already have perfect. Just keep the remaining ones and then enchant them to +2 from there, and then disenchant all the ones that are not, you know, perfect in the sense of having like the same color twice. And you're obviously, you know, you're basically, in that sense, when you're trying to make this, you're slowly building up your stockpile of perfect swords that are +3 or +4, right? And then you're going to start using the radiant runes to make them +5 and +6. Okay, but we're past that. Okay, so now we go into my inventory, and I've screwed my inventory because I've just wasted 50 slots. Okay, we don't want that. So we click on one, we convert it, we convert all. So we convert those 24. I locked the perfect one, we get 24 boosts. I locked the perfect one because I don't want to convert it, and it would convert otherwise. Okay, we convert all. We're going to convert another 24. That's 48. and then we convert the last 2, and we're at 50. So now we have 50 boost. So once your swords are pretty much where you think perfect is, you start creating a lot of boost swords. That's sort of the next step, is creating a bunch of boost swords. And actually, you can't see them here, but they're definitely in my inventory. They're definitely there. They didn't disappear. They're not gone. And they only take up 1 slot in your inventory, which is great. From there, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click, my camera's hiding it, but right there it says change option. Now this is 100% optional. You don't have to do this, but this is the next step. And I wanted to give you guys this information in case you finished working on your cards and you feel like there's nothing really to grind for, or you want something extra to grind for because, you're grinding for your cards, but you wish there was something else you could sort of pay attention to. And again, you can do this almost for free. You don't have to spend crystals. Right, up until now, I've just spent the free swords and the free runes that I grinded from Otherworld Battle. And then I also spent the free gold, basically, that I grinded from just playing the game. So I haven't actually spent any real money yet. Haven't actually spent any crystals yet. So you look at one of your swords, and let's say the stats are not good. But you're probably wondering, how do I know what stats are good, Alex? So I'm going to give you guys a breakdown on what stats I believe are good. You're more than welcome to build your swords however you want. You can leave them as they are. But this is just my tips for you. If you click on the question mark, there's six of the stones and there's 6 question marks. It's going to blast you with a whole bunch of stats. This may seem overwhelming, but it's very straightforward. It's just increasing or decreasing basic damage dealt or received to the 4 classes. You have human, inhuman, alien, mutant. Right? That's it. They don't include other. So it's just human, inhuman, alien, mutant. And then it's either 1% or 2.5%. So obviously you want to hit that 2.5%. Increasing damage or decreasing damage, they're similar. Decreasing damage received is a little bit better for PvP than increasing damage dealt. But if you're really into world boss and stuff like that, then you might want to get increased damage dealt, because it'll help you for things like world boss legend, where the bosses have typing, right? Like, we know for sure that a lot of the bosses in world boss, Null, Gore, Ultron, maybe not Ultron, Mephisto, they're aliens, right? Black Swan is an alien. So certain characters, Rogue, Dr. Octopus, they have those artifacts that give them increased damage to aliens. That helps. It also helps for Searcher, who's also an alien in Alliance Battle Legend, right? Or if you want to climb higher in Jean Grey World Boss Legend, she's a mutant, so mutant, right? Because she is classified as a mutant. Or human, if you wanted to climb against Kang, because we know that Magneto has increased damage to humans, and Magneto does really well against Kang and does poorly against other bosses. So there is PvP, there is PvE value here. There's always PvP value for sure, but there is also some PvE value. But in my opinion, the best one to roll for here is decreased damage received from mutants by 2.5%. That's the best one. That's the best PvP one. However, right now, the PvP meta is shifting a little bit. Wolverine is still on top, and Jean Grey is close. There's 2 mutants there. But then there's a lot of aliens, right? There's Thanos, there's Silver Surfer, and then we also have some humans like Sentry. So you could argue, and if Doctor Doom comes, he's going to be another human. You could argue that rolling 2.5% damage reduction from humans is as good, because that's going to reduce the damage that Sentry does to you. And then in the future, that's going to reduce the damage in PvP that characters like Doctor Doom do to you. So I would say mutant is probably the safest option, but then human is not a bad option at all. And then alien is probably the third pick, either increasing damage by 2.5% to those categories or decreasing damage received by 2.5%. The next one here, this is going to vary from sword to sword, but you're basically just looking for, again, I know it's a lot of text. You're basically just looking for 10%, because you can see it's 3, 6, 10 for these 5 different, is it 5? No, 3. There's 3 different abilities. There's leadership, healing, and heightened senses. You can go back to your you can go back to your roster and you can sort by these different categories, right? You can sort by, let's say fast movement, and you can see who's here. And this is mainly for PvP, and you can be like, okay, well, Kang and Gore give me a really hard time in PvP, so I want to get 10% increased damage to them, or 10% damage reduction from them, or whatever. I'm not going to go through and show you guys all of those abilities, because it's going to make the video way too long. I'm just going to straight up tell you which ones I think are the best. So if we go back here, leadership is the best. It hits Spider-Man, it hits Sentry, it hits a lot of characters. So you want to roll either 10% increased damage to leadership characters or decreased damage received from leadership characters by 10%. Either one is good. Here, you got basic damage against the 4 instinct types, so justice, order, cruelty, and destruction. Again, you want to cross-reference. You want to sort of think, how many metas in the game are justice type? You have Sentry right now, right, for PvP. How many are order type? You have Adam, Jean, Wolverine. How many are, you know, destruction? You have whatever, Carnage. How many are cruelty? You have Thanos, okay? So you want to sort of do that mental stuff in your head. Sorry, Silver Surfer is also order. So order probably is the best one here because you're going to hit Wolverine, you're going to hit Silver Surfer, you're going to hit a bunch of options there. But Justice is not bad either, again, because of Sentry, because of possibly, you know, Spider-Man, stuff like that. I think Order is the best one, and then you want to either increase damage against Order types by 2.5% or decrease the damage you receive from Order types by 2.5%. Pretty straightforward. Then here, there's only 5 options. This looks much more like a card, where you have 5 options for the random stats. The best one here is Concentration. The other ones are just not good at all, so you want to hit Concentration. The higher percentage, the closer to 2%, the better. You can get enough concentration on your cards, and this is very important. That's probably the stat you want to look for the most is concentration, especially a high roll, like 1.9, 2%. Because what you can do, if you look at all of the effects that I have on my swords 10.8, almost 11% concentration. And you can actually go even further. You can go all the way up to 14%, or sorry, 12%, because there's 6 swords, and each sword can roll 2%. So you can get anywhere from, you know, you can get anywhere from 6 to 12% increased concentration. That's very good. 6% increased concentration is having a full card rolled with red stars for free. And then 12% is having 2.5 cards rolled with red stars. That's very, very good. And that's going to allow you, if you're wondering, how does the concentration help? It's going to allow you to charge up your mighty and brilliant CTPs faster, right? Because the charge up is based on concentration, and it gives you an additional bonus based on concentration, particularly for the ones like Mighty Rage, where it charges up based on when you press skills, when you do skill button presses. Keep in mind, you can also get concentration from characters' artifacts, so you may find that some characters have a lot more concentration than others, and you're not sure why that is. Just a quick tip for you guys. So my Namor is going to have 5% more concentration than most of my other characters, just because I rolled that on his artifact. But rolling it on an artifact is much more difficult and much more costly, and that's just on one character. Getting concentration on your swords is very good because, like cards, they apply to all of your characters. So I highly, highly recommend you aim for, and that's kind of the stat that you're aiming for the most, is concentration. Then here, the 5th one, you have a bunch of elemental damage and elemental resist. Right now, really, fire damage is the only relevant meta ability besides cold for Luna. None of the other elements are really meta long-term. You could argue a little bit for lightning damage for a little bit of rogue skills, and then Thor and Odin, but nowhere near as powerful as Jean Grey, Ghost Rider, potentially Human Torch. Like, we know that there is definitely a bias in Marvel Future Fight towards fire-type characters. Whenever Mephisto gets his tier 4, like, because we know they're targeting native tier 3s for tier 4 now, that'll increase. So either rolling fire damage here or fire resist is very good. Fire damage, obviously, better for world boss and better for PvE content. Fire resist, on the other hand, very, very powerful for neutralizing Genes in PvP, neutralizing Ghost Riders, and also helps you a little bit to tank damage against Mephisto. And then the last roll here, the 6th roll, sorry, the only good option, the only great option is crowd control time down. Crowd control time down basically reduces the amount of time that your character is affected by crowd control effects, debuffs, like a snare, like the tornadoes in World Boss, like the time freeze. And there's actually a big noticeable difference between having low crowd control time down and high. Like, you know, a starter player is going to get frozen for the full 4 seconds of time freeze in World Boss, whereas an account that has maximum crowd control time down, which is I think 75% is the cap, you'll only be frozen for 1 second. So it's a difference of 75%. It's a difference of 3 seconds. It's pretty nice. So yeah, rolling crowd control time down is the best one here, but you could also roll cooldown duration. You could also roll movement speed. Those are not bad. Those are still useful, particularly if your cards don't have a lot of cooldown. So there's even overlap between value on swords and cards for newer players who are still sort of developing their things, because you don't know, right? There's a 16% chance every time you craft a sword that it could be perfect, right? Every time you craft a rune. So even if you're a new player, you don't have to spend money, spend crystals. You could by chance luck into a +5 or a +6 sword, and then boom, you can get yourself some extra cooldown, you can get yourself some extra concentration, etc., etc. These are small buffs, and you're thinking, oh, 2% concentration, that's nothing, Alex. But they add up, right? Once you do it to 2 swords, 3 swords, 4 swords, 5 swords, it adds up. And then suddenly, you know, not to flex, but you're looking at almost 20% fire resist on my swords, right? And you could convert that to, let's say, lightning resist if you really wanted for PvE, and that's an extra 20% lightning resist that then part of that gets converted to lightning damage for your Thor's artifact, right? Or look at that, I got, you know, 17% crowd control time. Because I have 17% crowd control time on my swords, I don't need to worry about rolling it on my cards for PvP. So it can even make it easier for you to finish your cards, which are arguably much more expensive, because it's a lot harder to make a P card, which is just like grinding GBR and getting the tokens and pulling one from the box, versus making a sword is super easy, right? Making a boost sword is super duper easy, and then you don't have to worry necessarily about rolling crowd control time here. You could roll physical defense or ignore defense, or you could roll dodge here instead, or whatever, instead of crowd control time. So it can even help, you know, more expensive things. So there's actually a lot of value in your swords. I just want to show you guys really quickly how to re-roll them, because it can seem a little bit daunting, but it's very straightforward compared to, when you compare it, I should say, to cards. So you get to this page, you click change option, right? That's the big one. You click change option on the sword that you want to re-roll, and then it'll ask you for fodder. This is where the boost swords come in, and then you click that, and then you click change option. I'm hiding it, but it's 100,000 gold. You click that, and then it asks you, hey, do you want to lock any of these stats? Now, I'm not actually going to re-roll this card because I like it. I like it quite a lot, but if it were me, like as a whale, I would, of course, lock the concentration. 2% concentration is crazy. That might be the only thing that you lock. Again, everybody's different, but I would also lock the fire resist, the crowd control time, the decreased damage from mutants, and the decreased damage from strong, right? Because I believe strong is the best one here. Machine might be better later with Doom and stuff, but for now, strong is better than machine. And then I would just re-roll for cruelty instinct damage, basic damage against them, and I would, again, hope for order or hope for justice. However, as you can see, this is going to cost me 500 gold, or sorry, 500 crystals. So I'm not going to do this. This is a little bit too rich for my blood right now. It really depends on what you're rolling for. I would say if all of the other stats are good and you're trying to get concentration, spending 500 crystals might be worth it to try to get 2% concentration or something like that, especially if you don't have any concentration rolled on it. But for a lot of the other stats, alone in a vacuum, are they worth 500 crystals? No, they're really not worth 500 crystals. So it really just depends. But obviously, you don't have to, like, let's say the sword is bad and has no good stats. You can just re-roll it for free. You can just re-roll it for 100,000 gold and the boost sword, right? Boom, you're done. That's all you got to do. So yeah, that's essentially how it works, how it breaks down. Keep in mind that all of the other stats that we talked about are all the same for all swords, except for the second stat. The second stat on swords is going to be different because it's going to change which abilities it is. So for that red sword, the abilities were, you know, heightened senses, fast movement, this sort of thing. For this sword, it's strong, machine, and shock. And then for another sword, if we look over here at this one, it is, let's see here, it is magic, agility, mind. So you're gonna have to go and look at all of those abilities. I believe all of my swords are rolled with the right one. This is decreased damage from magic, which is like Adam Warlock. This is decreased damage from strong, which is like Hulk and stuff like that. This is decreased damage from Weapon Master, which is Wolverine, which is good. This is decreasing damage from evil, which is like Thanos, which is also good. Like is the ideal roll. And then this one is energy projection. This is also, I believe, Adam Warlock. This one is also good. Durability is not bad here because it's Hulk and I believe Thanos. But yeah, again, it really depends on what you're going for, what you're aiming for in PvP. So yeah, that's basically the breakdown for the swords and what you want to do with them once you've gotten to a place where your swords are pretty much sold. Now, you're probably wondering, Alex, if you don't have to reroll your swords, what are you going to do with those 50 boost? Well, this is the other thing you can do with the 50 boost. The boost swords have the same value for your agent badge as cards do. So if you are running out of dimension debris like I am, or if you just don't have X-Men materials to craft into cards to then feed into your agent level, you can feed the swords. And as you can see here, 20 swords gets you a full level. So I know it seems like a waste, but this is actually really good value because I don't have to spend the X-Men materials. I don't have to spend the dimension debris. It actually costs me less gold, and I can level up my agent badge quickly with each Otherworld battle season's rewards of swords and runes. So it gets me an extra like 2 to 3, maybe 4 levels every season. And again, that's 0.06% all defense. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, and it's not, but it adds up over time, right? You're just trying to slowly grind that up, and then who knows? Maybe one day I'll hit top 500 and I'll get that extra 5% all defense badge. But if not, I still do get that defense stacking there from, hopefully 10% soon, and then 11, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's what I'm actually doing with them now. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, you definitely want to use them to reroll your cards, reroll your swords first before you do anything dumb like that. Not dumb, but like it's like the last resort basically. Anywho, hit me up, or you can just stockpile the swords and the runes in case they change the system in the future. You could always do that. I just would rather have the value than hoping and sort of hoarding. Anyways, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching the video. I'll see you guys tonight on the live stream. Do not miss it. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the content. And yeah, like I said, I'll see you tonight. Take care.